young? Or am I faking on the tip of my tongue? There's a sarcasm waiting for you.
Hello and welcome back to the Great Lakes Cup Series. Here we are at Iowa Speedway. I am joined in the booth, of course, by Alex. Alex, how are we doing tonight?
Doing all right. We're at a short track today, so we're going to be seeing some beating, banging, and it's a high wear one, so we're going to be seeing some tires as well. Should be fun.
We're going to try to go through the lineup here real quick for you. We're around 1.5 laps from going green. On the pole, it looks like today we have on the pole number 13 of Josh Cottle with a great lap. Then on the outside, we have Elliot Henderson.
Right behind them is a lot of ones with Jacob Manning in the 1 and Christopher Heller in the 11.
And the next row on the inside, the number 47 in the 5th spot, you have Nathan Nicholson. And then in the 6th spot, you have Hunter Madalinas.
Right behind them is the 5 of Matthew Daniels, 21 R.J. Williams.
In the 9th spot in the next row, you have Ty Aiken on the inside, and on the outside of the number 4 in the 10th spot, you have Zach Rogers.
Lining up right behind them is the 86 of Brandon White and the 91 of Austin Moore.
In the next row, you have Talon Pelfrey on the inside, and then you have Mr. Hayes in the number 9 up high.
The drivers in the back here didn't qualify. Jacob Bransky, 23, and Daniel Nanny in the 45, and with Scott Stewart rounding out the field in the 26. About to be going green here in a second.
About to go green flag racing here in the Great Lakes Racing.com 200 here at Iowa Speedway as the pace truck pulls off. And Josh Cottle's going to lead him to the green flag. Oh, and Henderson! He didn't get going at all, and Heller gets in the back of him. They're already 3 wide. Oh, wow, that was almost a huge accident off the start. And the number 1 of Jacob Manning, he jumps into 2nd place.
Terrible start for Elliot Henderson. We're trying to figure out what he did there. He possibly missed a shift or spun the tires already, but that's terrible for Elliot. He's already going to fall back to 4th, if not 5th, with Heller around his outside.
Henderson back in the 4th spot right now, battling it out with Christopher Heller. RJ Williams right on his bumper, and Hunter Madalinas not too far behind right there on the outside. They're going to make it 3 wide off of turn 2. Ty Aiken gets sideways behind them, almost an accident back there.
This is some extremely tight racing. These guys are, oh my God, in the back, almost had another wreck. They're starting to single file out finally.
These guys are lining up for a second there. Looked like it was going to get real crazy. I think these guys calmed down a little bit once that happened. But you're looking at this battle around mid-pack. Austin Moore back here. Ty Aiken back here. I think that's also the number 23 of Jacob Bransky, who Alex mentioned he didn't put down a qualifying lap. So he's coming from the back here, and he's already moved himself up to the 12th spot in the number 23 machine.
Jacob Bransky already making up some great time. He should be one that'll get to the front of the field. Strong driver here in the series as he goes by Ty Aiken on the inside. Drivers are starting to fight up front, though.
And Jacob Manning has put his car all the way up against the wall. He's rim riding up there in that number 1 machine, trying to get up to Josh Cottle. Josh Cottle's led the first part of this race. Then right behind him, Madalinas has moved into that 3rd spot. Very quietly has moved into that 3rd spot after starting 6th. Then right behind him, you have Christopher Heller, and then you have Elliot Henderson rounding out your current top 5. And then right behind him, look at RJ Williams. We know how good he is on these short track style tracks. We know he can get the job done here.
Hunter Manalinas here in third position caught the wall off of turn 4, so that's going to hurt his damage, but doesn't seem to be affecting him too badly as he's already up to the second position around Jacob Manning. Something we should point out with this track that makes it so unique is it seems to be when you're side by side with guys, the high side seems to be the better lane, but if you're better under brakes, that bottom lane could be just as good.
Yeah, that's one thing I love about this racetrack. It's a multi-groove track. And as the race goes on, you're going to see lanes develop and go away. You're going to see drivers just moving around the racetrack constantly, just trying to find some speed. Like you saw Jacob Manning a couple laps go all the way up against the wall trying to find speed. And now he's in the middle lane trying to find speed.
Everywhere around this racetrack, this pace, you could pretty much find it wherever you want to go. Even later in runs, you might see guys start to go up to the third or even fourth lane all the way up by the wall just because it's clean air up there.
And I was saying to watch out for RJ Williams. He's making his pass on Henderson. He's trying to get to Manning now for the third spot as well. Right here, the number 21 of RJ Williams. He's just so strong on these short tracks. That's his bread and butter, I would say.
It's interesting. Jacob Manning, he had a really good start, got up to that second position, but he's falling back really badly. He's getting passed now for the fourth position by RJ Williams. He just really hasn't been able to keep the tires under him, seems like, as he's already lost spots and he's about to lose another.
Yeah, Jacob Manning, great start to the race, but already falling back a little bit. Not sure if maybe he's used up those tires or maybe he's deciding to save up those tires possibly for later in the run. He's going to get passed by RJ Williams, looks like on the inside here. At least RJ Williams is at least setting up the move. He's going to fall in behind him for now. He can't quite complete the pass on the number 1 machine.
It's really frustrating trying to pass people, especially if they're on the high lane. Jacob Manning got in the wall. RJ just narrowly managed to check up enough to not hit him. That's going to let him high, though. Jacob Manning with some good damage.
Yeah, Manning got some pretty decent bumper damage. RJ Williams looks okay. I don't think I see any damage on his nose. But the number 1 of Jacob Manning has a lot of rear end damage after that. I don't think that's going to affect him too bad because we're at Iowa. But just something to note.
This is one of the more unique short tracks on the service, as it's just a slight bit bigger at 3/4 of a mile with really wide corners, so it's got some pretty high speeds. Aerodynamics does make a bit of a difference here, and that will hurt Jacob Manning in the longer run as he's backing up to this gaggle of cars behind him.
Yeah, Jacob Manning is backing up to all these cars. The first couple of cars are all spread out, and then you have this pack of cars like almost Daytona or Talladega, 2 by 2 by 2. Daniel's getting a little loose off the corner behind these drivers, but he keeps it straight. Nicholson right here behind him. You see Hayes right here. I think that's the number 4 of Zach Rogers as well. Bransky continues to move up, though. He's into the top 10 now, Alex.
Like I said, Bransky has good pace. I'm not sure why he didn't run in qualifying and set down a lap. Maybe he just wants to have some fun here, but he's already making some solid progress.
RJ Williams continues to move, I'd like to note. That last lap, he was 2 whole tenths quicker than our race leader and 2 tenths quicker than second and third place. And he's right there now on Christopher Heller. This number 21 machine of RJ Williams is on the move.
Yeah, RJ didn't particularly have great single lap pace in practice or qualifying, but it seems to be he definitely has some great long run pace over these guys. And that's something we'll have to watch out for. Who moves forward later in this run, because this is a very high wear racetrack as he goes under Christopher Heller for the position.
Yeah, these tires really fall off hard here. And it's a pretty long run from what I've heard. I heard it's going to be almost a 70-lap run here today on the pit window. So that's a long time on these tires around this 3/4 of a mile track at Iowa Speedway.
Yeah, it gets really painful around that 45 to 50 lap mark. You really start to fall off with the tires, especially if you're not good under brakes. The setup these guys are on tonight is a really hard setup to get to turn, so their front tires are going to be screaming by the end of that run.
The driver's tires are already beginning to fall off a little bit. These drivers are already driving around a second off their quickest lap, and we're not even 20 laps into the run. So that just really makes you think on how much these tires are really going to fall off. And this could possibly be the first time this season that we could really even possibly see a tire failure, maybe even. Oh, contact! Wow, that was close. Great save from Madalinas, but RJ Williams wants to go. But as I was saying, this track really tears up tires. It's such a long fuel run. I could possibly see a tire failure today. I don't think we've seen one all season.
Yeah, the only other time we've gotten close to that was when we ran Legacy Texas Motor Speedway. Guys were saying they had really bad tire wear. Actually did have a blowout at that race very late into the first run. But it's possible that this track we may see another one. But I seem to notice that this track isn't as bad as it seems sometimes.
These guys are getting real gutsy back here still. They're still fighting hard back here. You have Zach Rogers, Austin Moore, and Jacob Manning has really fallen, Alex. He's almost outside the top 10 at this point. Oh, whoa! Nicholson gets rear-ended. Look like, was that Stewart that got into the back of him? Wow. A lot of damage to the rear end of the 47.
Yeah, that was a close one there. Those guys almost wrecked down on the outside at turn 1. Lucky to save it. I figure it's probably due to that little tight setup. If these guys were any looser, that would have been a goner.
It looks like I took a look at the replay myself, and it looks like Nicholson was right behind Scott Stewart, and he just slowed down when he didn't expect him to and got into the back of him, and then Nanny got into the back of him pretty hard. We're going to try to get you a replay on that incident, but wow, a decent amount of damage to that number. Which car number is he driving tonight? Nathan, 47. Nathan Nicholson, a lot of damage to that 47 machine tonight. You're going to see the replay here.
Oh, he just gets into the back of Jacob Manning and shoots him up the racetrack in front of Talon Pelfrey and got both of them into the incident. They're lucky that none of them managed to hit the wall from that.
Some pretty heavy damage. But while this is going on, we're about to have a battle for the lead almost, it looks like. Christopher Heller passed Hunter Madalinas, and he has driven down Josh Cottle. He's right there at this point. He's only like car length and a half back. And RJ Williams is driving very similar lap times to these two as well. So if they start battling, RJ Williams is going to drive him down as well. We might have a 3-car battle here around halfway through this pit cycle.
Yeah, Cottle pulled out a pretty decent gap at the beginning of the race, kind of gapping second and third by almost a second in the first few laps. So I imagine he's probably suffering from a bit of tire fall off, and now Heller's capitalizing. He just has to make sure he doesn't ride up on that rear bumper, because while it's a short track, dirty air is an issue here.
Dirty air is an issue about anywhere you go on the service, especially in these cars. But it being a short track, it's not as of an effect, but it still definitely plays a factor. You're seeing Heller just trying to get clean air and trying to get to Josh Cottle and maybe make the pass and get up there and lead some laps.
Right now, I'm looking at Jacob Bransky. We checked on him a little earlier. He was battling for the 9th position. He's already up to the 6th spot. He's gotten past that big group of cars that was battling earlier in the race, and he's starting to run down Hunter Madalinas. He's running very solid lap times, just a little bit faster than the leader that time by.
And Bransky's just been moving up and up and up throughout this race. I think he started 16th, I want to say, and he's already up to the 6th spot. Jacob Bransky has put on a phenomenal race so far, and he continues to that's the most impressive thing there, Alex, that he still has speed. After passing all those cars, he still has some tires. Like, that's so impressive. That's best drivers on the service can do that.
Well, you'd be surprised sometimes when you're starting in the back of these races, because you're racing around guys that are pretty much slower based on qualifying. Often you don't have to push as hard to get around them, and you may just have to sit there, and eventually their tires will go away while yours stay perfectly fine. So Bransky could have been sitting there just waiting for their tires to fall off before he started marching forward. And it sure looks like it, as he's already catching up to 5th place pretty quickly.
And Bransky continues to drive down Madalinas for that 5th spot. And while we're watching this, Cottle's driven away from Heller actually the last couple of laps. Maybe Cottle still had some tires left, and when he saw Heller get to him, he just kind of drove back away. And that's what he's doing now. He's put a couple of car lengths in between himself and Heller since the last time we mentioned it. And RJ Williams is around the same distance still back from these two, but they're all within around a second and a half right now. So if we have some mistakes, we can have a pretty heavy battle up here for the race lead. A really slow car here. Who's that down there? Is that Hayes down there that's really slow?
Jacob Hayes coming into the pit lane, it looks like. No, he's gonna hit the pit barrels. All right then. I suppose that'll end his night.
I'm not sure what happened to Mr. Hayes. Look, I'm trying to look back on him, on maybe what happened. He just looks like he just kind of pulled off the track and just kind of exited the race. I'm not sure.
Well, I suppose every now and then, sometimes you just have something you need to go do that's more important than iRacing, and, well, I guess he figured he'd do it in a bit of style, as we're seeing some battling on the back. Jacob Manning getting passed by Nicholson now.
Oh, Pelfrey gets bumped by Matt Daniels. Great save. Oh, man. Great save from Pelfrey. Got a little loose. Got a pretty decent bump from Daniels, but he's able to keep it straight in that Harry Gant-looking machine tonight.
He's making it a little harder on us tonight. He's in the 55, but he's running a 33 number. It's getting confusing, Kyle. Why can't these drivers just make it easy on us?
I don't know. The world may never know. We're looking at Jacob Manning.
Well, we've got another battle developing. Jacob Bransky passing Hunter Madalinas for the 5th position. He's caught up to them, and now he's making the moves. Now that he's around Hunter Madalinas, he's going to be running down Henderson.
Bransky continues to move forward in that number 23 machine. He's up into the top 5 for the first time tonight. It only took him 36 laps to get there. And now he's right behind Henderson. Can he move into that 4th spot? He has a little bit more speed than Henderson does right now.
Yeah, right now in his current position, I'd imagine he'd almost want this race to go green. He has such good long-run pace that he might just run down the leaders if he keeps running a pace like this.
And mentioning the leaders, I've been just keeping an eye on them. I just keep on keeping an eye on the gap. Every lap, RJ Williams is chomping at that lead by a couple of hundredths. It's not saying much, but it's such a long run. By the end of this run, if he keeps on doing that, he's going to get there. He's already chomped down that lead from 1.3 to 1 second. Mentioned it.
Yeah, RJ Williams just making some very slow progress to the front of the field, and sometimes that's just what you got to do. Though at the same time, you're at the front of the field and you kind of have that pressure to keep moving forward. I just saw an incident out backstretch. Hunter Madalinas got really loose. Backstretch got passed by the 4 of Zach Rogers. Not sure what happened to him there.
Yeah, he just came off the corner and turn 2 and just got a little loose and just almost lost the car. He was able to save it. No contact, no foul play there. He just got a little loose and was able to handle it. So good save from the 17 of Madalinas, and he keeps on going.
Right as we were talking about that, Jacob Bransky made the move on Elliot Henderson. It was so quick, we didn't even get a chance to catch it. Jacob Bransky moving forward.
And that's what he needs to do, Alex. That's what he needs to do. He needs to make these quick passes so he can continue to drive down the leader and not waste any more time.
Interestingly as well, not far behind him is Zach Rogers in that 4 car. He has some pretty decent long run pace, as he actually slightly caught up to Bransky as he was making those passes and is running down Henderson as well. So he has decent long run pace as well.
Rogers has interested me most of the race because earlier on in the race, he was one of those drivers battling really hard, neck and neck, 2, 3, 4 deep. And once RJ Williams got past him, he kind of just followed him, and he just kind of just followed him through those guys. And he has a pretty decent gap to RJ Williams, Jacob Bransky. He has a pretty decent gap to Jacob Bransky, but he's been kind of just following him along.
So now that he's behind Elliot Henderson, he's losing a lot of time. He's actually getting battled by the 9 of Jacob Hayes, who came back out on the track with newer tires. So this is going to hurt his pace a lot, as Hayes doesn't have a hood right now.
Yeah, Hayes doesn't have the straightaway speed, but he has a lot more speed than Rogers does in the corner, so he's able to maintain the inside to Rogers. Very questionable here. Oh, and there sounds like I hear chatter on the radio of a wreck in turn 1.
Yep,
It seems like Scott
Austin
Stewart.
Moore and Scott Stewart got into it.
Man, Mr. Scott Stewart and Austin Moore. It sounds like maybe Scott Stewart had gotten into the back of Austin Moore. I'm not exactly sure, but that's just going off the radio chatter. Good amount of damage to the number 91. Scott Stewart looks pretty unscathed. Looks okay in that number 26.
I believe the damage is a little worse than you expect because the wreck was a lot more flashy than you think it was as we watch this coming down the front straight into turn 1. Scott Stewart's going to make the move on the inside and just overshoots it, gets into Austin Moore and spins himself around like a top. Both of them with big damage now after that incident.
Now everybody's going to come on to pit road at this point to take 4 fresh tires. These drivers were running almost 2.5 seconds slower lap times than their quickest laps, even more than 2.5 seconds for some drivers. So their tires are way different. Here's the onboard from Stewart. Heavy hit from Stewart. Lucky to not get more damage than he did. He really should have gotten more damage from an impact like that.
Well, RJ Williams spun around the pit lane. He's facing the pit wall currently in his pit box.
Oh, man. RJ Williams. And he's just going to pull out. No tires or anything. He's just going to pull out and take the lead. Oh, man. This turned into a strategy call.
I imagine he's probably going to come back in. There's not really much strategy here, especially after you loop it in the pit lane. I think he just wants to make sure he doesn't go a lap down trying to fix whatever damage he got.
Oh, man. RJ Williams drove himself up to the 3rd spot and was beginning to threaten the leaders right before we got to that caution and almost drove it down to a half-second lead for Cottle. And here you see him on pit road as he's going to pull into his pit box. And he's in one of those difficult pit boxes. He's in one of those curved spots. It's so hard to get into that box. And it looked like he maybe even saw his box a little bit late. He turned in and just spun it.
This racetrack has some unique pit
boxes. See it
boxes.
for RJ Williams, and he's back on pit road now to make his tire changes and get in whatever repairs he may need. Here you see it from another angle. I think he just missed his box, kind of like how the other night how Christopher Bell drove past his box. I think RJ just kind of lost where his box was maybe for a second and almost drove past it and then turned left at the last second and just ended up spinning it out.
That's something big that these drivers are going to have to deal with tonight. To get these cars around these corners, you have to run a really low brake bias. And the thing with running a really low brake bias is often if you hit the brakes too hard, you'll start to do a wheel hop in the rear end, which causes the rear end to bounce, gets you really loose and lose grip. And with all these pit boxes being around a corner, these guys are trying to brake really hard while turning, and you saw right there RJ Williams wheel hopped it and spun it around going into his pit box.
RJ Williams is now pretty far back in the pack now after that, and he's going to have to try to come back up. I think he can definitely do it as long as he's able to keep his car clean and keep it out of trouble. I think we still have 2 laps till we go green. Josh Cottle did come out with the race lead still, the number 13 of Josh Cottle. Right behind him is going to be Christopher Heller. In the 3rd spot is Elliot Henderson. He gained a spot actually from Jacob Bransky on pit road. Bransky fell back to the 4th spot. And then you have Zach Rogers rounding out your top 5 on this upcoming restart. Interested to see which lane Josh Cottle decides to pick here.
Personally, if I was in Josh Cottle's position, I'd pick the high lane because that's the lane that even if somebody gets inside of you with new tires, you're just able.
We're going to get the one to go this time in the Great Lakes Racing.com 200 here at Iowa Speedway, race number 4 of the Great Lakes Cup Series presented by ButtKicker, and we will get the one to go. Josh Cottle will pick the inside here after our first caution. We're going to have our first restart of the day as we're around a quarter of the way through this thing on lap number 48 of 200.
Well, interestingly here, Josh Cottle picks the bottom lane for this restart. So he'll have the inside lane going into turn one. He's going to be hoping to clear Heller into turn one because if he's side by side, he could lose the lead.
I was going to need a good restart here to hang on to the lead, and interested to see what happens on that high side. On that first restart, Henderson did not get a good restart a good start to the race. Interested to see how Heller can do here on the start. And here comes the pace truck pulling off, and Cottle leading down to the green flag. Heller with a decent start, and Rogers spins the tires on the inside. And they're going to be 3 wide. Ty Aiken's going to pass him down low. And Pelfrey's the one that really gained from that as he moves up to the 6th spot in that Harry Gant machine.
Yeah, where did Talon Pelfrey come from? Did he happen to take 2 tires? Because he was way in the back of the pack. I'm surprised he's up in this position currently. But yeah, bad start from Zach Rogers. He lost 3 spots already.
Yeah, Pelfrey. Good start from the race. Good start for the restart for Pelfrey. Good job. He's able to hold himself in that position. And Bransky's trying to get himself back up there, but now he has Madalinas on his outside trying to gain a spot from him as Bransky's trying to go underneath Henderson and take back that 3rd spot that he had.
Bransky's in a really tough position. I think he's just going to have to concede the spot before the guys behind him start to catch up because it's just so hard to clear the guy in the bottom, especially with Henderson right in front of him. It makes it so that he can't even try and slide job the corner. But I say that, and he gets a fantastic run through 3 and 4 ahead of Elliot on the front straight.
Jacob Bransky down low, and he's going to get past Henderson, it looks like here. He's going to pass him on the inside and clear him and move back into the 3rd spot. Jacob Bransky, the driver of the number 23. He started in the back, and he was really fast on that run, and now he's trying to get back up to where he feels like he should be, up there battling for the race lead. And here comes Madalinas as well. He's going to try to drive into the 4th spot.
Somebody I just noticed coming forward again is RJ Williams. He's already battling for the 8th position with Ty Aiken. He's made some forward progress really fast, but that worries me a little bit about his tires.
You can't be using up your tires this early on in the run. We saw what happened to Jacob Manning last time by on that last run we had. He ran real hard at the beginning of the run and fell like a rock to the back of the pack.
That at the same time as him, the 2 leaders are pulling out a big gap as well. It could just be because they weren't battling, or they could be so focused on each other they might not be noticing how hard they're running.
And now you have these 2 drivers who've kind of just gapped the field. You have Heller and Cottle have kind of just gapped the whole entire field here at the beginning of this run. Interested to see how much they fall off. We saw at the end of that run that Cottle didn't fall off too hard, but he did fall off a little more than Heller did, and RJ Williams was able to just fly up on these guys, but right as he got up to them, the caution had came out for the first time.
And battle going on, big battle in the middle of the pack. Hunter Madalinas gets around Elliot Henderson, and now Talon Pelfrey tries to peek inside, just doesn't have enough of a run. Talon Pelfrey, big improvement. I thought he might have fallen off because he was running in the back in the first run, but he's made adjustments to his driving, and he's running pretty solidly in the top 10.
And Pelfrey has moved himself up to the 6th spot. Ever since that restart, he was able to get himself into that 6th spot on the restart, and he's kind of held himself there. But look right behind him, RJ Williams, he's already up to 8th. Wow.
Yeah, RJ Williams moving pretty hard. Again, I'm worried about the tire because he came from the back and is in this position right now, and he's running faster than the guys in front of him. But we aren't that far into the run. We're only approaching around 10 laps now, so I'd be interested to see where he's going to be about 10 laps from now.
Yeah, I've also noticed with Iowa, if you get right down on the bottom where it's just the lightest part of the racetrack, that's where you're going to just save your tires the best. I've just noticed at this racetrack, Iowa. And that's where RJ Williams is. That's where he's making his passes. He's still going to be using up those tires because he's just stuck on the inside and he can't turn up against the wall when he comes off the corner. But he's not hurting his tires as bad as you would think down there.
Well, that's something I wanted to bring up at some point about our two leaders. Christopher Heller, especially down in 3 and 4, has been running the high lane really high, like running the third lane all the way up there to try and get runs on Josh Cottle into 1. So I'm very worried about his tire because that high lane uses him up pretty bad.
Yeah, we saw it with Jacob Manning. Jacob Manning was using that very high side, the same line that Heller is really using right now. Manning might have been a little bit higher up on the track than Heller is. But that lane really just uses up your tires the quickest. But look, you see how much of a run he gets. He's going to be able to get to the inside of Cottle. This is the first time I think we've seen anybody even battle Cottle all race long.
Heller did have a very good corner there despite the really late and low entry. That's something I'm interested in seeing because I'm surprised he held as much position as he did. If he gets a good enough run, he might be battling Cottle into turn 3.
Yeah, Heller, he's trying to get that good run so he can maybe make a move and take the race lead away from Josh Cottle. Josh Cottle has been so dominant ever since the drop of the green flag. Cottle started on the pole, and he's led every lap so far in that number 13 machine. And he continues to lead, able to gap Heller a good amount on that lap.
More progress being made. RJ Williams, he's up the inside of Zach Rogers in the 4. Talon Palfrey seems to be holding him up a little bit. 3 wide in turns 1 and 2. Palfrey way up the track. That's going to have Zach Rogers finally get ahead of him, possibly run away from RJ Williams, hopefully, because he does not want him to get around him.
RJ Williams is making moves quick. He's just coming up through the field so fast to the number 21 machine, and he's trying to now get past Zach Rogers. Zach Rogers was so strong at the end of that last run. At the beginning portion of the run, he was one of those drivers in the heavy battles in the back of the pack, so I'm not sure how quick he is on this shorter run. But now he has RJ Williams breathing down his neck.
Yeah, the one thing I've been interested in with Zach Rogers, he's had a long run pace as we saw in the first run, but he's really not touched the bottom almost at all. He's pretty much been glued to that second lane, which is typically the lane you run during the daytime, and he still happens to have some pretty good long run paces. We're also looking at Elliot Henderson finally making up some positions. He seemed to find some long run pace as well.
It also looks like that number 4, Zach Rogers, is taking it really easy going into the corners and just trying to get as much speed as he can down the straightaways. So maybe that's also a reason why his tires are not quite falling off as much as most drivers would up there in that middle lane. He's just taking it real easy going into these corners.
That can be a weakness, though. Taking an easy entry here at this racetrack. There's 2 driving styles. It's doing what Zach Rogers does and takes an easy entry and a hard exit, or you could drive it in really deep and really get the brakes to pitch the car around the corner. But if you're a guy that's a late breaker, you can actually attempt a slide job through turns 1 and 2. I've seen it done. People throw it up down low in turn 1 and slide up to that second lane. You could pass people that way. So Zach Rogers might have to look out if anybody knows how to do that.
Zach Rogers has a decent gap between himself and RJ Williams. RJ Williams is around 2 car lengths back. RJ hasn't, ever since RJ's gotten to Zach, he hasn't really been able to even make a move on him. You see Pelfrey back here with Ty Aiken. Aiken has approached the back bumper of the number 55. He's going to try to maybe make a move on him here on the front stretch, it looks like. He's going to get to the inside of Pelfrey. This is a battle for the 8th spot. Aiken looking to take it away. Oh, contact, it looks like, going into turns 1 and 2. And Aiken's going to clear him.
That was some good old-fashioned short track rubbing his race and gave him a little bit of a tap on the door, moved him out of the way and passed him. That's some short track stuff that you love to see. No wreck, nothing. Just some great hard racing.
And this Zach Rogers, RJ Williams battles kind of stayed around the same you see here, but they're both closing in on Hunter Madalinas. I think that might be also a reason why RJ is not battling Rogers right now, because he knows that Rogers has that long run speed. So he's willing to follow him right now as they're driving down Madalinas with ease right now.
Something I'm starting to notice, I mentioned a little bit earlier, a bit of a concern with the line Christopher Heller was running. Yeah, Josh Cottle has gapped him some, and Bransky's actually been running Heller down a little bit as Heller continues to run that high lane. He's been losing time to Cottle later in this run, so I'm a little bit concerned for his tires right now.
Tires, tires, tires. We're going to be talking about tires all race long here. This track is just so keen on tires. RJ Williams and Zach Rogers have gotten to Madalinas, but Zach Rogers has not been able to find a way around him. He hasn't even really tried to make a move on him necessarily because they are both running the same lane. Madalinas and Zach Rogers are running the same lane on the racetrack. But we're gonna send it to a quick side-by-side while we watch these battles on the racetrack because everything seems to be calmed down for a little bit here. So we'll send it out to our sponsors.
Welcome, race fans. This is Paul Page, the voice of IndyCars. And today we're excited to present another IndyCar event brought to you by the Dark Horse IndyCar Series. From the Unzers to Mears, Foyt, and Andretti, now it's Corley, Peterson, Davies, Gardner, and Team. You can expect high speeds, incredible wheel-to-wheel action, and intense drama that you could only get in an IndyCar. So sit back and enjoy your favorite drivers from all over the world take the track. Dark Horse IndyCar drivers, start your engine.
And we're back, and we bring you back with the battle for the lead. Heller continues to just stalk that number 13 of Josh Cottle. He's been getting such huge runs off turns 3 and 4 and making a move. You see how big of a gap he has coming off the corner. By the time he gets to 1 and 2, he's on his bumper. So Heller's just getting such a huge run off turns 3 and 4. He just needs to time that move perfectly so he can complete the pass. And he's going to need to complete it quick here, Alex, because Bransky, he's 0.2 of a lap quicker than these guys right now. He's driving them both down.
Yeah, Heller really tricked me. I thought he was falling off tire-wise, but maybe he just laid back a little bit to cool him down, and now he's making runs at Josh Cottle again. As the caution comes out in the back of the field, we'll have to see what happened.
And it looks like Pelfrey's off the track. You hate to see it. Pelfrey was having such a good run in that number 55. You really hate to see it. He was having such a stellar run today. He was running in the top 10 and right outside the top 5 a good amount of the race. And he has spun it to the inside of the track on the front stretch. Not sure exactly what happened. I think we're going to try to get a replay here for you on what happened with Pelfrey. It looked like Scott Stewart might have been involved as well. He was pretty far back there as well. It looks like Pelfrey's on the outside of Daniel Nanny right here. Nanny just gets into the door a little bit. They both trying to get into each other. He almost saves it, but then they get back into each other a second time, and then Pelfrey just spins it around to the inside, and no one else gets involved in the incident. It looked like Pelfrey had it saved right there, but then they just made contact that second time, and it just really sent Pelfrey to the inside. You're going to see another look at it here.
Yeah, that was just tough. It just looked like Nanny possibly slightly overshot the turn a bit, and then when he got into him, Pelfrey wasn't able to go back up to the wall. But I just saw an interesting pitch strategy here. Almost everybody's staying out except for one driver. Hunter Madalinas is coming into the pit lane. Oh, and one other driver as well with Jacob Manning.
And I'm seeing these drivers on pit lane, and honestly, I feel like this is a genius move. This is genius. If we go green the rest of the way, there's around 120 laps left. The pit window is 66 to 70 laps. These drivers pitting right now confirms for them that they only need to pit one more time. They only need to pit one more time for fuel and one more time for tires. They don't need to pit twice like all these other drivers are going to need to do if we go green the rest of the way. And we've seen the racing here. It has definite potential to go green the rest of the way here. I think this is a phenomenal call from Madalinas and Manning here.
It's a big gamble, though, because these drivers only have 3 extra sets of tires in the pit lane. Everybody's already taken at least 1 set. So these drivers are only going to have 1 set left over in the pit lane. And if we get cautions, there's really not much chance for them to be in the fight after the 2nd or 3rd caution. But we're seeing more drivers come down pit lane. Henderson, Nicholson, and also Daniel Nanny have joined the fray in the pit lane.
Looks like some of them are listening to the broadcast because they're coming down to get fuel and tires now. That's what I'm thinking.
It's a big gamble. We have a definite split strategy going on, and it's gonna make it very fun to watch for sure.
This track definitely has potential to go green the rest of the way, and that sets up all these drivers that just came down pit road under this caution flag to only have to pit one more time, and they're good the rest of the way. But as you said, Alex, this is definitely a split strategy decision right here. The top 9 have decided to stay out and thinking that we're going to get a couple of more cautions in this race, which is definitely possible with the way this track is set up and with everybody being on different strategies now when it comes to tires.
Well, somebody who's just last second pulled the strategy, pulled the trigger, is Jacob Bransky from the 3rd position, comes down the pit lane. Very interesting for him to come in this late, make this decision on the 3rd time around the pit lane. He's going to be the last car on tires for everybody who's pit, so he's going to be in a tough position even on this strategy. I think he's hoping for it to go green as well.
You know, we've seen Bransky already come from the back once, and I think he's ready to do it again in that number 23 machine, as he decided last moment, right before the pits decided to close, that he wanted to get fuel and get tires. He's going to be going to the back, though, in that number 23 machine. He's had to come from, it looks like, to be 14th place to get back up to the top 3 where he was.
I'm actually checking in on the pit stop. He didn't actually take tires. He just took fuel only. I'm not seeing the car lift up at all.
Huh.
I actually think a lot of these drivers might have just taken fuel only, hearing about your call for only having to pit one more time. They're on a tight setup, reminder, so the extra fuel is going to help them. Yeah, I'm checking in. Elliot Henderson only took fuel. I'm checking in on some other drivers as well. I think these drivers only took fuel this time by. I'm not sure if anybody took tires.
Very interesting call. You really could have gone either way on it, because with the drivers taking the fuel only, they're prepared if it goes green the rest of the way, but with them not taking the tires, they're also prepared if we do get some cautions. So a good backup plan for those drivers that decided to not take any tires. I'm interested to see if any drivers at all took tires on that restart. We'll definitely be able to tell, because they'll be able to drive right past everybody, I'm pretty sure.
Well, I think I see one driver who did, Hunter Madalinas, who was our first one to pit. He did take tires. I checked in on his pit stop.
So Madalinas is really buying that we go green the rest of the way as we take the green flag once again. Josh Cottle leads him down. Great restart from him. And RJ Williams and Ty Aiken and Zach Rogers, 3 wide. Oh, wow. That was close. Ty Aiken backed off for Rogers, as they were 3 wide, but now they're down to 2, and they're 3 wide off the corner, off of turn 2 as well back there. You see, there's Henderson back there, Bransky, everyone racing hard back there, and 3 wide again up here. This is insanity.
Hunter Madalinas is already going for the 4th position. He's already up there at the front of the field. He really doesn't have to push these tires too hard. He'll blow right by them. Oh, spin in the back, Nicholson.
Look, was that Daniel Nanny involved as well? I couldn't tell. I think it was Daniel Nanny in the 45 as well involved. He had a lot of front-end damage. But Nicholson, once again, around in that number 47.
Yeah, this was between all the drivers that came in to take fuel, and they were running 3 wide into turn 1, and Nicholson was just the unfortunate one on the outside that just got caught up in the wreck.
And we're looking at the replay here. Nicholson on the outside slows down here. And it looks like just a little bit of contact would look like to be Brandon White. And very heavy damage to the 45 of Nanny. That's very heavy damage on the nose of that car. Even a track like Iowa, that's going to really affect you.
Yeah, and he's also missing a rear end as well, so I'd go as far as to say that Nicholson's night is pretty much going to be done if he can't find a way to fix all that damage.
But it looked like they were figuring on possibly going 4 wide going into 1 and 2 right there. It looked like Nicholson was trying to make room for Nanny on the outside so they could do 4 wide, and Brandon White had no idea they were going 4 wide into that corner, it looks like. And they're both just kind of going for the same spot on the racetrack. We're going to take one more look at it. You see Nanny on that high side. It looks like Nicholson's making room for Nanny, and then there's just contact between him and White.
Yeah, that was just some really tight racing. I can't really put that on anybody there. It just kind of looks like both of them were racing really hard and just kind of came into each other. Unfortunate, though, for Nathan Nicholson as he got the short end of that stick.
No, it was a big winner off all that, though. Look at Zach Rogers. He's in the 2nd spot. Look at Mr. Zach Rogers and Madalinas. Madalinas is all the way up into 3rd. Like, I think some of those drivers came down pit road honestly during this caution, I think.
Yeah, well,
Seems
Christopher
like
Heller came down into the pit lane the last time by, so he came
Rogers.
in.
Rogers, Aiken, everybody's coming down pit road now. At this point, everybody, I think, has made that 2nd stop except for our leader, Josh Cottle, which leaves him as a lone wolf up there, a real Zach Galifianakis up there.
I don't believe RJ Williams has made a pit stop either. I believe he still stayed out. So it looks like Cottle and RJ Williams are still on the old tires at old fuel, but checking in on Heller's pit stop, he actually did take tires that time, so he'll have tires on this restart.
And
Same
honestly,
thing with Zach Rogers. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, good. Honestly, I like that move. I like the tires move, especially with more drivers wrecking here. You just have less cars really on the track to compete with, less chance of an accident. And we've seen these green flag runs. We've seen the separation that these guys get in between each other, the gaps they put on one another. This can go green the rest of the way, and drivers like Christopher Heller that had just taken 4 fresh tires, if it goes green the rest of the way, it really falls into Heller's lap and anybody else who took 4 tires. I think you said Zach Rogers had taken 4 tires, and Hunter Madalinas is also on 4 fresh tires in that 2nd spot as well.
Yeah, currently, Madalinas is really in the catbird seat right now. The only real concern I have is between Josh Cottle and RJ Williams. Tight setup, low fuel, old tires. If this goes green for long enough, there's a genuine concern that they could go a lap down just off of pure pace, as the tire fall off is just simply that big.
We're going to see how this happens, how the cookie crumbles here, as I think we're 1.5 laps from going green. I think we're on the 2 laps to go lap right now here at Iowa Speedway and the GreatLakesRacing.com 200. Go to GreatLakesRacing.com for all your Great Lake Racing stats, standings, all that good stuff. There's our top 5 right now. You have Josh Cottle in the lead, Hunter Madalinas in 2nd, RJ Williams in 3rd. Pelfrey has gotten himself back up to 4th after that accident. He's actually one of those drivers that's on the same strategy as Williams and Cottle. He has only pit 1 time as well, so that's a 3rd driver that's only pit 1 time. And then, of course, you have Henderson in the 5th spot, rounding out your top 5.
Well, let me quickly ask you this one, Kyle. So right now we have an extremely split strategy with over 100 laps to go. There's a few drivers out here that still have 2 sets of tires, but a lot in the field right now only have 1 more set. With that many laps to go, which strategy would you want to be on right now?
Personally, I'm really buying we go green the rest of the way. I really like Madalinas' position right now in that 2nd spot on 4 fresh tires. I really like where he sits.
Because, see, me personally, I really want to be in Josh Cottle's position. I'm convinced that we're going to see more yellows with these drivers. It seems to be a big difference in the field, a lot of mix-up, so we could see a bunch of cautions.
Pace truck pulls off. And Cottle leads him down to the green flag. A good start from Madalinas on the high side. He looks like he's going to stick into the second or the third spot. RJ Williams, he's going to try to follow his teammate Cottle and try to take over that second spot from Madalinas, but he's not going to be able to do it because Madalinas has those fresh tires. He's going to pull by him on the high side, and he's going to try to make a move on the lead right here in 3 and 4, and he's going to lead the lap. And this is going to be the first driver to make a pass on Cottle all race, and he takes the lead. Hunter Madalinas on those fresh tires. And Christopher Heller is coming quick as well in that number 11 machine. He's already up to the 6th spot.
Yeah, we're hearing it. Well, Heller did slightly get into the wall, which is why he's probably not passing these drivers as quickly as possible. But 3 wide into turn 3. Heller on the bottom, Bransky middle, Pelfrey outside. Pelfrey's going to be the one who loses out as Heller's going to go around Bransky, who also doesn't have tires but does have fuel.
Yeah, Bransky does have fuel in case if we get that caution. A lot of these drivers have that backup plan. They have the set of tires. They only took the fuel so they can only do one more stop. Drivers like Josh Cottle, Tellin, Pelfrey, and RJ Williams are all going to have to pit at least 2 more times. You see Heller, a great move. And RJ Williams off the corner uses all that speed and gets a little loose off the corner, but he uses it to his advantage as he jumps to the low side into the 3rd spot. RJ Williams falls back to 4th, and now he's going to fall into the clutches of Ty Aiken in the number 71.
Yeah, Christopher Heller is just making a lot of pace on that high side in 3 and 4. Really the best driver I've seen to even run that lane, and he's making a lot of lap time without losing a lot on the tires. So he's found a unique lane that works out for him and is pretty much out of the way of any other driver. It gives him the clean air as well.
The driver that's also on those 4 fresh tires, he's been taking his time, and that's Zach Rogers, and he could be a driver to watch out for later in the run because he's just really taking his time getting through this field right now in the 8th spot right now. Ty Aiken right there. He's moved into that 3rd spot. He's gotten past Cottle. Aiken has a lot of speed right now, too. I think he had taken 4 fresh tires as well in that number 71.
Yeah, I believe Aiken has also taken tires. The next driver after that is Jacob Manning in the 6th position. He also has tires. And then you got Bransky, who has fuel but no tires. I actually really like the position he's in. He's running really good lap times despite the fact that he has no tires. So he's actually in a really good position fuel strategy-wise and also tire-wise.
If someone like Bransky, he's really buying on the Great Lakes Racing usual, which would be the second half of these races. Cautions, breed cautions. Once we get 1 caution in the second half of these races, we get a lot of cautions. And I think that's what Bransky's kind of buying on right now. But then you have Madalinas and Heller up here about to battle for the race lead that want this race to go green the whole way. Heller had a huge run off the corner. He is flying right now compared to Madalinas, and he's going to pass him on the inside with ease. Wow, Heller has a lot of speed right now.
Yeah, their tire difference really isn't that much. He just is that quick. The only real difference is that Madalinas did have a very short run on the tires, which he put some heat into them before this run.
You know what I'm thinking right now? Madalinas, this could be really, he could be saving tires right now. This could be really smart for Madalinas because he started on the outside of the front row. Heller started near the back. Madalinas kind of knew that he was going to get a big gap whether he drove hard or not. And he drove out to a pretty big lead, and maybe he's just backing off at this point, knowing how big of a gap he has to the drivers without fresh tires. And it's really just a race between himself and Heller if we stay green. And Aiken as well. Aiken's coming up on these drivers too.
My only issue with that, however, is honestly, I find that if you're in the lead, track position is more important than anything. Unless if you are totally destroying your tires and pulling out 1 to 2 seconds ahead of the guy in second, I would just say just run a fast enough pace to stay ahead of him, even copy his lines just to dump dirty air. Because I just find that that first position has such a massive advantage over the rest of the positions in the field.
This top 3 is basically on a different planet from everyone else. Everyone else is driving 24 second plus. Well, Heller and Madalinas last time were both 23.7s, and Aiken was a 23.9. So this top 3 is really separating themselves from everyone else.
Yeah, those 2 drivers out at the front of the field have some really great paces. We're seeing a bunch of jumbles of cars here in this mid-pack with a bunch of guys on no tires and a bunch of guys on new tires racing around each other. Zach Rogers looks to try to go to the outside. RJ isn't able to do it. Him and Matt Daniels have been battling for the last like 5 or 6 laps side by side. They just can't get off each other.
Are you sure Nathan Nicholson was out of this race, Alex? He's back up to the 5th spot. Look at Nathan. He's putting on a show. I don't know how he came all the way back up to 5th.
Well, we're only 10 laps into this run, and he does have tires because he did pit the last time by. So he has the best tires in the field, the same as Heller. But with the pace that he's running, I'm not sure where he'll be in the next 10 to 15 laps.
Yeah, just something to really keep an eye out for. Nathan Nicholson, I know he has a lot of speed almost anywhere we go. Unfortunately, he's been involved in 2 accidents today. He's been spun around twice and very heavy contact in the second one. He's gotten himself back up to the 5th spot on those fresh tires. Here's the onboard look of Nathan Nicholson back up to the top 5, where he started and where he was for the first portion of this race.
And Nathan Nicholson running pretty good right now. But again, just a little bit concerned. But we'll check up on him in a little while if he's still in that position. But, ooh, great battle in the back. Zach Rogers, I think, has finally had enough of RJ Williams, who he's been stuck behind for a good while, and finally drives around his outside.
Yeah, Zach Rogers has been getting really held up behind RJ Williams, and now he's going to go straight to Josh Cottle, and it looks like he's going to just pass him in one turn. That really just shows how much more speed he has. Oh, Pelfrey, once again, it looks like he might have spun to the inside coming off of turn 4. No caution, though, as he's able to continue in the number 55 machine. Pelfrey's just had a very difficult day, has had a lot of speed, but just a very difficult day. Brandon White way back there as well. Maybe he was possibly involved in the number 86. He's been around a lot of the action today.
There's been some crazy racing around the mid to the back of the pack. These guys are so close back there, but with the different tire strategies, it's a lot more spread out than normal, which we've already gone green for just under 20 laps, so these drivers already have a pretty solid run. If a caution comes out now or in the next 10 laps, the guys on no tires are going to be jumping for joy.
There's some heavy battling right here. I think you see Scott Stewart back here. Jacob Bransky's trying to get himself back up towards the front. RJ Williams and Josh Cottle, they're falling. They're down to the 8th and 9th spot, with both of those drivers being the lowest on fuel and having the oldest tires. They're falling pretty quick, and they're really hoping on a caution.
I'm actually surprised. I'm looking at their more recent lap times. They're not very far off of these guys on the newer tires. I mean, it's only off by 2 to 3 tenths a lap. They're not falling off as badly as I expected them to be.
You know how to take care of their tires, especially RJ Williams. RJ Williams is known for having that long run speed. They're still falling back. They've lost a lot of positions since the start of this restart. I think Cottle was in the lead, and RJ was... I don't know where RJ was, actually, at the beginning of this restart. I think he was 3rd. Ty Aiken's getting really close to Madalinas here, you see.
I've been checking in on Ty Aiken the last few laps. He's been one of the fastest cars on track, even faster than Heller. But now that he's behind Madalinas, he's going to have to try and find a way around him. But he's been running very solid lap times, so he might be one we have to watch.
Aiken's shown a lot of speed, and he's been catching up to Madalinas pretty quick. But now that he's stuck behind Madalinas is running laps almost 3 tenths slower than your race leader, Christopher Heller. So Madalinas is holding up the number 71 of Aiken right now. Aiken needs to find a way past Madalinas quick.
Well, he may find it soon, as there's a lap car just ahead of him, a Talon Pelfrey. He could use that as a pick to try and get around him, but as they both run the high lane into turns 1 and 2, Tyking really close to the bumper. He's got a run going down the back straight. We'll see if he gets anything done with it. But, oh, he's going to give him bump, a little tap into turn 3. Ty Aiken is running him down. He's just got to find a way around him.
I think he got a little bit into his bumper off of turn 2. He was really close, and he had a huge run off turns 3 and 4. He's going to get to the inside of Madalinas, but it's just so hard to complete that pass down there. You're going to see it. He's going to fall right behind Madalinas. And now Pelfrey is going to go to the inside and move out of the way of these drivers. And Aiken's going to have to reset up the number 17, and he's right on his bumper. You can see that Aiken has more speed, but he just has nowhere to go. What does he use the front bumper and move the 17 out of the way?
He sure looks like he might end up trying it because he's been getting great runs. He's got a decent run this time. He's just narrowly on the quarter panel. This is a good spot to try and pass. The bottom lane in 3 and 4 is quite good. He's just got to make sure that he has enough of a run to stay side by side. He gets a little loose. He's still there, though. He's got a side draft into turn 1. It's going to be tough to get around him here.
Aiken's really pushing, but the more he pushes, the more he's going to use up his tires. He needs to get past the 17 quick. I think he has to back off maybe and reset him up, but he gets a good run off too, actually, that time. A great run, a lot better than Oh, he puts him in the door! A great move from Aiken. We've seen it already from him today, getting a little into the door, coming into the corner. That's a signature pass from Aiken at this point. Great move. That's just some short track racing.
Yeah, but I've been in Madalenas' position before. You don't tend to be very happy when that happens to you, but I think Ty Aiken will have enough pace to run away from him, so nothing will happen. But Ty Aiken with a very aggressive move to get around Madalenas.
Madalenas really sent it through 3 and 4. I know y'all can't see it, but he really sent it in 3 and 4. He wasn't able to get to his bumper, but I think he was trying to. But RJ Williams and Scott Stewart battling right here. Scott Stewart, he's been moving up pretty slowly through this pack in that number 26. Scott Stewart is up to the 8th spot, so good run from Mr. Stewart.
All right, well, I guess call me wrong. I looked back, Nathan Nicholson, he's still sitting there in the 5th position. He hasn't lost any spots since we last checked up on him, so he's running pretty good. I'm proud of Nicholson. I'm surprised. He proved me very wrong. He's got decent pace.
Nicholson's a great driver, and he's really showing how good he is right now. He doesn't even have a bumper on that machine. You can see it. There's no bumper there. So it's definitely affecting his handling, and handling at least to a certain degree here. He's doing a phenomenal job in that number 47. Has been involved in 2 accidents. Was able to get himself back up to the 5th spot on strategy, and he's been able to hold on to it ever since. But here comes Matt Daniels in his rear view.
Yeah, Matt Daniels as well with decent pace. As we look over at our screens right now, we see Crazy Racing. That is indeed a car that does look like a modified with Daniel Nanny. He seems to be holding these guys up a little bit. Is that RJ Williams coming to the pit lane? Yes, it is.
And he's right at that window. Right now, it's 76 laps to go, so he's right outside the window, actually. But he might have some knowledge that we don't. We've gotten the fuel window wrong before.
Well, Josh Cottle was also in the pit lane. He went the last time by. He just took tires exiting the pit lane now. Problem at this track is you're going to go a lap down, if not 2 laps down, as Josh Cottle's just going to narrowly come out ahead of Christopher Heller. He's going to be side by side in 3, but he'll just narrowly hold on to that extra lap.
So now they were hoping for a caution, and now they're hoping it stays green. And they're pitting right outside our window. Our window that we were given is 66 to 70 laps, and they pit 76, 77 laps to go. But like I said, we've gotten the fuel window wrong before. Maybe they know something that we don't. And they're out there now, possibly just taking their last pit stop of the day with just over 70 laps to go. On fresh tires now, they're going to be making up a lot of time on those fresh tires.
Yeah, the one advantage that they might have is that if they do need to save that extra bit of fuel, they can run a slower pace because they're on newer tires and they could get away with it. So we'll see if they could manage to do it, but it's definitely going to be tough from the position that they're in because they seem to be outside of that fuel window.
We're looking back here, and Bransky and Nanny will not stop. Bransky and Nanny have been going back and forth for this 9th spot for so long. Bransky's trying to clear Nanny, just can't quite get up in front of him, and there he does. He gets it in front of him that time. Nanny got real loose off the corner. Good save from the 45, but Bransky finally able to complete the pass on Daniel Nanny, and he's going to move on now in that number 23 machine and try to get up to Scott Stewart now. There's your top 5 on the left side of your screen right now. Great comeback from Manning, by the way, back up to the 4th spot. Good job from him.
Yeah, we've got some pretty great performances going on. It seems a lot of guys with this strategy have just found a way to reset their driving and run a much better pace than they did in the first run. A lot of guys learning a lot. But something I am noticing that's starting to close up is Jacob Manning's backing up a little bit to Nicholson, but at the same time, Matthew Daniels is catching up to Nicholson as well. This battle for the 4th, 5th, and 6th position is starting to close up very slowly as the laps tick on.
Matt Daniels definitely putting on a good run tonight. You love to see it for Matt Daniels. One of those drivers that just gets involved in a lot of incidents, whether it be because of his own doing or because of others doing. So it's good to see him up here, battling up here in the top 10 and trying to get into the top 5. Has more speed, as you mentioned, Alex, more speed than 5th and 4th place right now. That number 5 of Matthew Daniels.
Yeah, it's really great racing, honestly. I love running at this racetrack because of the fact that there is just such big tire wear relative to it being a short track. It's almost Richmond-esque, just a little bit bigger with a few more lanes that you could run. It's such a fun racetrack to drive, especially with the bumps, and it just creates such fun for the drivers in the car, even if right at the moment we are single file.
And I'm continuing to watch Cottle and RJ, and they're just kind of like working together. They're just like bumper to bumper, just driving around this track, making up as much time as they can on the bottom. It's going to be something to watch all race long if we keep it green. And Matt Daniels is right here. He's continuing to pressure Nicholson. He's right there. But ever since he's gotten that far from Nicholson, he hasn't been able to really cut it down too much more. Same thing when it comes to Manning. Manning has been able to maintain that gap between himself and Nicholson.
Well, as the laps tick on, Kyle, the drivers who didn't have tires like RJ and Josh Cottle starting this run, I'm getting a little bit more worried as they might start running out of time to take tires even if we do get the cautions that they need. But then again, at the same time, we saw Hunter Madalinas versus everybody with no tires. He drove up to the 4th position in just a singular lap, so you could tell the difference in tire. It's just a matter of when the cautions come out and how old the tires are of the people contending.
And I'm pretty convinced that Jacob Manning was saving something because he was falling back pretty hard to Nicholson, but 3 out of the last 4 laps, he's ran the quickest lap on the racetrack. That last time by, I think he was like the 3rd or 4th quickest guy on the racetrack. He's right there on Madalinas now. He's been driving the wheels off that car the last few laps. Just really makes me feel like he was saving something in that number 1 machine.
Yeah, he must have heard me say that the gap is closing up and turned the wick on, because now all of a sudden he's run down Hunter Madalinas. Not sure if he has enough pace to catch him, as he's been sliding a little bit coming off turn 4. But he's been running very, very good lap times compared to the rest of the field.
And you'd have to think the reason he's driving so hard is because we're approaching the... Oh, and here I was about to say we're approaching the pit window, and we have a couple of takers this time by. It looks like some of the split-second guys. It looks like Bransky's on. It looks like Elliot Henderson is also on pit road. We're approaching those pit stops. It's been over 50 laps since some of these drivers last came down pit road, and we're in that fuel window at this point. So you can pit here, or do you go as long as you can on these tires?
One thing that was pretty fun to watch about Bransky is I kept checking in on him every time because he looked like the best of the guys that didn't have tires. And when I was looking, he was running lap times that were the same as Heller. But to be fair, you said they were only about 50 laps into this run. They're going to be running a 62-lap stint from this point, and every other driver is going to have newer tires than them. So they're going to have a really good long-run pace and pull out a really big gap so that the tire difference doesn't bite them at the end of this race.
Jacob Manning, your 4th place driver, is just pulled down to pit road. So I feel like that might be the one that makes the dominoes fall. I expect Heller, Aiken, Madalinas on pit road very soon at this point. Because even if they come later on in the run, and they're going to have the fresh tires at the end of the run, but at that point, they're going to fall behind so many drivers that they're going to have to pass along the way to the front.
Well, they have some laps to spare, Kyle, because on this run, I mean, Heller pulled out, compared to Jacob Manning, who's already pit, he pulled out a 5 to 6 second gap on him, so he could go an extra 2 to 3 laps and still end up ahead of him by the time he comes into the pit lane.
And the question is, when do we see our race leader Heller come onto pit road? Ty Aiken, when does he come on pit road? These drivers last came down pit road 52 laps ago. It's been 52 laps since these drivers last came down pit road to make pit stops. This will be the final pit stop of the race for these drivers. Looking at your race leader, Christopher Heller, ever since that last restart, he took the lead from Cottle and has not looked back in that number 11 machine. Looked real strong on this run.
Something I was interested in looking at are 2 earliest drivers to pit so far in this run with Josh Cottle and RJ Williams. They're not running particularly fast times, even compared to the guys who are still out on track. They're only faster than them by 2 to 3 tenths a lap, which you would think with how newer their tires are, they would be well faster than that. As we see right here, Ty Aiken on pit road, so he's made the call. We'll see if Heller reacts to it by coming the next time by. No, he stays out, so he's still going to stay out on track, as Ty Aiken is going to gain a lot of time on him.
Honestly, Alex, I think that is the strategy with Cottle and RJ. I think they've slowed down their pace a little bit, because I was watching RJ. RJ drove down Cottle, and he just immediately got behind his bumper and just slowed down. He's just been riding right behind him on the inside. I've mentioned the inside lane is where you're going to save the most tires. They're running a little slower lap times, but they're not running too slow of lap times, or they're not making up any gap. They're trying to find that even median, I think. That way they can still have tires for the end of this run, but at the same time have the track position that they need.
Well, we're definitely going to have to be watching for when these drivers make the call. If they pit soon, as we see... Yep, Heller coming down. I was going to say if they pit in the next few laps, they're going to split the run almost even in half, and Heller pretty much does exactly that. He splits it almost perfectly in half. Heller is going to have tires and advantage over every guy who's pit already, but he already has a gap to somebody like Hunter Madalinas and Nicholson and Daniels and Rogers, who are the only other drivers that have still stayed out.
Madalinas, Nicholson, Daniels, Rogers, they still have to make their pit stop. Scott Stewart as well. Daniel Nanny looks like he still has to make his pit stop. We have 6 drivers that are still out there needing to make their final pit stops. When do they pit? Do they go out? Do they stay out as long as they can? That way they have the freshest tires at the end of this run. And I would like to note, RJ Williams has just gotten past Christopher Heller by a good amount right there. You see it. He has Bransky right behind him. Bransky has fresher tires than RJ. Bransky's going to try to make the move on RJ Williams, but I know he's not going to make it easy. He's going to fight hard on that high side, even though Bransky has much fresher tires than he does right now.
Yeah, between these two guys, they've been a couple of the fastest drivers in the field pretty much the whole night on these longer runs, though Christopher Heller showed he had really good pace on this last run, and he's going to have the newest tires. So Bransky has to get a move on to try and build gaps and gain track position and hope that the other cars hold him up, as we see Hunter Madalinas come down pit lane, and that'll give the lead away to Nathan Nicholson.
And this is a little interesting here just to see it. You have Jacob Bransky and you have RJ Williams. RJ Williams pit around 24 laps ago. You have Jacob Bransky who pit around 12 laps ago. And then you have Christopher Heller who just came down pit road. So you have 3 distinct strategies when it comes to tires right there, and we're going to be able to see how it affects the end of this race, as Bransky's already gotten in front of RJ Williams, and he's around a half a straightaway, a little more than a half a straightaway in front of Christopher Heller, who's on the freshest tires right now.
Christopher Heller is making some really good lap times. He's catching up pretty quickly. It was 3/10 that last time by, even while behind all these drivers. So that could be an issue, but the one other thing I noticed, Ty Aiken also jumped Heller. He's just barely ahead of him, and he's only got tires that are about 3 laps older.
And that's interesting right there. Ty Aiken in that number 71, he has very slightly older tires than Heller, which also means if Heller is able to get to Aiken, Aiken's not going to make it easy. That's going to be a good battle right there. Aiken doesn't have very much older tires than Heller at all, so he's going to be able to fight back a little harder than a lot of these other drivers are going to be able to.
Now the challenge is going to come here in a second when they catch up to Bransky. They're running them down extremely quickly. I think battle for the win right now looks to be between these two drivers, but Heller wants it before they get to the lap car. Oh, Bransky's going to run high right in front of Ty Aiken, but then cut low. Heller really loose on the bottom side. That's going to give it right back to Aiken. This is going to be a great battle between these two.
I wouldn't count out Bransky yet either, because you said it at the end of that last run. Oh, very close right there. But you said at the end of that last run, Bransky and these drivers that had stayed out on tires and the drivers that had gotten tires, by the end of the run, they were running the same lap times. So the tires do even out over the run. But you saw it right there. Bransky got passed by Aiken. He's going to fall into that third spot. He's going to have to try his best to keep up with these guys, or at least keep within a couple of seconds for when we get to the end of this run.
This is definitely not what Ty Aiken wants to see. He does not want to be side by side with Heller. It's the worst possible thing for him, but he is going to get a run around the outside. Oh, caution's out. This changes everything.
And Matt Daniels. Daniels is up in smoke. Oh, man. This is that one frame post now, Alex. This is the new one frame post. This is the single frame that makes us cry. Seeing a frame of Matt Daniels crashed at Iowa.
A single frame from a NASCAR race can't make you cry. The single frame.
So I'm hearing that his wheel just like kind of turned off and turned back on, and that's what happened to Matt Daniels, and that's just
yeah. That just looks like a oh, Madalinas! Big hit into him. Oh no! It's even worse than we thought. Madalinas being majorly involved in that incident.
Look, was outside.
It looked like his wheels shut off because he just took a really hard left down the front straightaway. That's something I noticed when the wheels just turn off. Yeah, look at that. Hard yank to the left. His wheel did indeed turn off. I've had that happen to me. Oh, Josh Cotto was also involved. He got hit as well. When Hunter Madalinas ran into Daniels, he came up back into Josh Cottle. So that's another two drivers aside from Daniels that were involved in this incident.
That's huge because Cottle started on the pole and he's been the dominant driver throughout most of the day. You're going to get an onboard look of Hunter Madalinas. Has a huge run on Cottle. Doesn't even see Daniels till last second, and it's over for both him and Cottle at that point. They're both up into the wall with pretty decent damage. But we've seen damaged cars run pretty well today, so it's not over for them yet.
All right, well, we've got some amazingly interesting developments out on the racetrack. It's our favorite word for tonight is interesting because right now the caution came out at the golden opportunity time for every driver who still has an extra set of tires, like Jacob Bransky, because every driver has made a pit stop under green, has run a good amount of laps on the tires, and has fallen off pretty good on pace over a second. While Jacob Bransky, in contrast, is on brand new tires. Same thing with RJ Williams and Scott Stewart. They are in the perfect position for this race right now.
This is just crazy developments. This is going to be insanity here at Iowa, because you look at someone like Christopher Heller and Ty Aiken. These two drivers had the race in the bag. If we stayed green, one of these two drivers was going to go to victory lane tonight at Iowa, but now they're probably going to drop to the back.
Yeah, their days have just really been struggling. Luckily, the good thing for them is they're starting out front. They have newer tires than most of the other drivers behind them, except for the guys who just pit. And there's only 3 drivers on brand new tires. So they only have to watch out for 3 other guys. So this may not be as bad as it could have been, but it's going to make it a lot harder for them to possibly win this race.
I'm looking at my screen. It looks like about everybody came down pit road, really. The only people I see that actually stayed out were Aiken and Heller. Even Scott Stewart had came down. I don't know if Stewart had gotten tires, but Bransky's that first guy right there in the 4th spot with fresh tires. RJ Williams on fresh tires. Henderson's on fresh tires. I think Cottle's also on fresh tires, but he does have some damage. Zach Rogers, I'm not sure if he's on tires. And Nicholson, I think he's out as well.
Yeah, well, the interesting thing is that every driver right in front of Ty Aiken needs the wave around. So they don't have a chance to pit for tires. They don't have a chance to bring themselves back into this race or really fix any damage because they have to get their lap back. But you mentioned Scott Stewart. He actually was still out on track when that caution came out. So I believe he still has 2 sets of tires available after pitting now 1 set. So if something crazy happens, we get another caution 15, 20 laps from now, Scott Stewart may be somebody we have to watch out for.
If that's the case, that's an insane and honestly genius strategy. I've seen that exact strategy actually pulled in FTF. I think it was either Kyle Riley or Jake Poulin pulled that strategy where it didn't really work out for them, but they saved their tires the whole race. Even when they came down where they had to get tires and fuel, they still only got fuel and just made those tires last as long as possible. So if that's true with Stewart, that's huge if we get a caution late, because that puts the race really in his hands. We're going to go green flag racing this time. Ty Aiken had chose the high side. He's going to have Jacob Bransky right behind him with those fresh tires. Christopher Heller on the inside in front of Stewart as the pace truck pulls off, and the green flag is out for Ty Aiken. Gets off to a good start. Heller's right there. Can he jump in front of Bransky? It looks like he will, and now Stewart's on the inside, and RJ Williams jumps into the 5th spot.
Bransky not wasting any time, already to the outside of Christopher Heller. RJ Williams to the outside of Scott Stewart. Bransky not able to clear Heller into turn 3, but he's going to try and take it 3 wide, it looks like. Oh, this is getting tight. Big contact. RJ Williams, Jacob Bransky got into a wreck. Christopher Heller, who turned him, kept going, but oh man, their races are pretty much over as well.
In my mind, all I heard was Darrell Walsh. I'm going like, oh no. That's all I heard. Oh man, Christopher Heller. Look at, he slid a little bit up the racetrack, got into Bransky. They were going 3 wide for the race lead. And Aiken's the only one that left that unscathed in that number 71 machine. You're going to see the replay here. Heller sends it to the inside. Bransky's in the middle. Bransky gets to the inside of Aiken with those fresh tires. And Heller just slips off the bottom, gets him in the door. Heavy damage for RJ, and Nanny once again loses his nose. It looks like he got his nose back, but now he just lost it again, Alex. That's disappointing.
Yeah, Nanny's just not had a fun day today. Just hasn't really been able to run at the front of the field, getting into a bunch of incidents, but I think his day is not nearly as bad as these two were looking to win this race, and now it's pretty much killed for them, especially Bransky, who had some really hard contact.
RJ's out of the race, unfortunately. The number 21, RJ Williams, has been so strong all day. Maybe even had the best car today, but just never once had the track position. Very heavy contact for RJ right there, and he wasn't going to be able to come back from that, I think he thought, this late in the race with that damage and not having any more tires left either. So you hate to see it for RJ, but we're down to 11 guys battling it out for this win. Daniel Nanny is currently 1 lap down. Here's the onboard look from Christopher Heller. You're going to see it from his onboard on the inside in turns 3 and 4 as he gets up into Bransky. It looks like just gets all the way down to the bottom. Definitely not intentional. It was just hard racing, trying to get to the race lead, and I definitely can tell that Heller definitely didn't know they were 3 wide and thought Bransky might have been farther up the racetrack.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, Bransky did also cut it a bit low, and even Ty Aiken was kind of low, considering they were 3 wide. So you can't really pin that on anybody specifically. That was just a really hard racing deal. But from that incident, creates craziness. Talking about Scott Stewart, well, he avoided the wreck and back again in the 3rd position. And Elliot Henderson, who's started off this race with a bad start and got some rear end damage, is also back into this race, as he also should have new tires as well.
Yeah, Elliot Henderson, he's doing a very good job. He's been very quiet most of the day, surprisingly. Henderson's usually one of those drivers that's just battling out for the race lead most of the day, but he's been very quiet. I don't know if that's dangerous or not, Alex.
Well, maybe he's been quiet because he isn't running his green scheme. He's trying to be a lot sneakier, running that white and purple scheme. Some colors we're not used to seeing him in, but it'll line up in this 4th position, and it may get a lot flashier than he has been most of the night in just a minute.
Yeah, he's up here trying to battle it out, trying to get up to the race lead. Elliot Henderson, there's your top 5 on the left side of the screen. Aiken out leading some laps. You have Heller in 2nd, Scott Stewart with a great run in 3rd, Elliot Henderson in 4th, and Madalinas, he's been around a lot of the action, and he's been all over the place when it comes to strategy, but he's been able to maintain a top 5 spot throughout most of the race.
I think he will struggle, though, as the massive damage from the wreck with Matthew Daniels earlier in the race. He's got some major damage, and I don't believe he has newer tires either, as he was a part of the same strategies Ty Aiken and Heller. So he'll struggle with Zach Rogers behind him with pretty much a brand new car. So he's going to look to get a top 5 from this.
You know, Rogers has been running a very good race, been running very safe. He's run a good race at the number 4 machine. Another one of those drivers that's kind of been all over the place when it comes to strategy. He's kind of had to switch his strategy a couple of times because of these caution flags. But he currently runs there in the 6th spot on the outside of Hunter Madalinas, as most of these drivers are not going to be able to really come down pit road the rest of the time. They don't have any tires left except for maybe Scott Stewart. So that would be cool if we get down to the end of this race. Maybe we get a caution. That will really set up Scott Stewart with the fantastic shot at maybe a victory here tonight. But let's not get too ahead of ourselves now, as the pace truck is going to pull into turns 3 and 4. He's going to pull off the corner, and he's going to pull down pit road. And we're going to go green flag once again after our 5th caution flag of the day. Aiken picked the high side, and he's going to be restarting up there. Heller is on his inside, and Henderson's going to be right behind Aiken, and Scott Stewart's on the inside of row 2. Pace truck pulls off, and green flag is out for Aiken. A good restart from him. And also Henderson trying to get to that outside quarter panel of Heller, but I don't know if he can do it. He does. He drives in there hard with those fresh tires. Oh, there's contact. Stewart's around.
Scott Stewart got hit by Madalinas and got turned. Oh, man, Scott Stewart. I think what's lucky with him, though, is I don't think he has too much damage, and he still has a set of tires. So he should be pretty much all right, I think.
Using him up a little earlier probably than he would want to right there. Look like he maybe got a tap from Madalinas on the inside. Once again, just heavy racing here at the end of this race, and that's the thing about Iowa. It's just there's so many different lanes on this track that you can race on. These restarts get awfully racy, and you see stuff like that. Here's the replay. You see Madalinas on the inside. He sends it on the inside, and they're both just kind of going for the same space on the track. Stewart has the lane, and Madalinas wants it and just gets up into the quarter panel, it looks like, and Brandon White spins it around, just trying to get around the accident, it looks like, there afterwards.
Craziness at the end of this race, just pure unadulterated chaos. But the one thing that did come out of that caution is now Elliot Henderson is in the 2nd position. He'll be lining up side by side with Ty Aiken on those old newer tires. So Elliot could nab the position on the first lap with the lead.
Henderson's had a pretty decent race. He's been, like I said, he's been very quiet, but I guess that's a good thing right now, because that quietness has gotten him up to the 2nd spot with all these incidents that have happened over these last 20, 30 laps. And it's interesting. It's usually the second half of these races, but this time it was the last quarter of the race that's getting a lot of this action right now. You see Henderson right there in the second spot, behind Ty Aiken. And Ty Aiken, this would be a huge win for Ty. I know Ty would be really excited about this victory. I think it would be his first victory in the Great Lakes Cup Series, and his first victory in Great Lakes in quite a while.
Yeah, Ty Aiken has had some flashes of great pace this year, just hasn't fully been able to put it together, but this race, he seemed to have found something about halfway through and found a lot of pace, and here he is leading the field with just under 30 laps to go, but his main rival right now is going to be Elliot Henderson on those newer tires.
Henderson on those fresh Goodyears, that number 37. So I expect them to maybe just drive right past Aiken here within the first couple of laps. Aiken has, I want to say, around 15 laps older tires than Henderson. Let me look. I haven't even looked. I think it's around 15 laps older tires Yeah, it's 15 laps older tires, Ty Aiken, than Elliot Henderson. That's a big difference. So I think what Aiken's really hoping here is that we keep on getting these caution flags. We keep on getting green flag stints for maybe a lap or two, and we get a quick caution. And that way he can maybe either keep himself in the lead or at least keep himself in the second position. That way on a late race restart or something along those lines, him and Henderson can battle it out with possibly more even tires than they are right now.
And cautions can only help because even on top of the fact that it's going to keep him out in the lead if it's short enough, the tires really do not like it when you run for a very short period of time, heat them up, and then start trying to cool them down again. The tires wear down a lot. They just don't seem to have the same kind of grip. And the more and more cautions that come out, the worse and worse Elliot's tires are going to be, and the closer they're going to be to Ty Aiken. So all Ty Aiken can do is just hope that there's enough cautions to even it out, or hope that Elliot has already lost enough grip in the tires that he could try and hold them off.
Probably get the one to go this time by. Elliot Henderson is the front man when it comes to fresh tires, but you don't have to go too far back. I think Brandon White, Josh Cottle had also gotten some tires as well on this restart. I'm not sure if they had enough. They came down pit road at least, Brandon White and Josh Cottle, and they're not too far behind. They're only a couple positions back, and Henderson has around 10 laps older tires. There's also a lot of caution flags in there, so it should be interested to see how that works out. And Henderson's going to need to get past Aiken as quick as he can if those drivers have fresher tires than he does.
All right, well, we're 2 by 2, 1 to go. This is where it all heats up. We could either get a quick caution and give Ty Aiken another break, or it's just going to be craziness going down into turn 1. He's chosen the bottom, which I personally think is a great choice because he's got Christopher Heller, who's been getting fantastic starts right behind him. If he jumps early enough to clear Elliot into 1 and block his lane on the outside, he could have Heller box Elliot in that kind of corner by Heller running the bottom and Aiken on the high side.
And here comes the restart. Aiken gets off to a good start. Heller does not. Aiken's going to immediately be able to jump up in front of Henderson. And here we come through 1 and 2. We're going to see that speed difference from Henderson and Aiken. Henderson's going to be able to get to the bumper of Aiken off the corner. And it looks like actually, yeah, I don't know if Henderson took it a little easier. Aiken just drove it that hard, but he had a great corner. And Henderson's going to drive it into 3 and 4 and immediately get to his inside. And Aiken's going to get the run off the corner. A good battle back from Aiken so far on this first lap.
It seems to be perfect for Aiken. He's got enough pace to hold him off on the outside lane, and Elliott just doesn't seem to have as much grip as we expected to be able to run the bottom and just drive around him. So this is a perfect scenario for Ty Aiken. If he just holds this and doesn't get into any incident, this could be perfect. But great battle, 3 wide in the back. Nicholson with the damaged car on the bottom, Heller on the outside. They're going to clear Madalenas.
There's some great racing right back there for the 3rd spot. Nicholson rides up the racetrack a little bit. He's going to keep it straight, and Christopher Heller is going to hang on to the 3rd spot for now. But Henderson's just sitting in there right behind Aiken. He's not able to make the pass. Henderson has fresher tires, but you have to keep in mind, it's just so hard to complete a pass on the inside. You just have to be so much quicker than the other guy to complete the pass on the inside. I think Henderson's best move is just wait for the right moment and even try to pass him on the high side.
Yeah, Henderson's just not as getting big enough runs as I expected him to get. And Ty Aiken is just holding him off, running that higher lane. It's just he doesn't seem to have as much pace to catch him. So much so that even Heller's catching up to both of them.
Yeah, Aiken must have had something left in his tires because he's running good laps right now. Aiken's only around a 10th off his quickest lap time right now. So Aiken's running very strong laps. Even though his tires are a little bit on the older side, they must have gotten really cooled down because of these cautions. And Heller around the same thing. Heller is running very quick lap times as well. He's driven these drivers back down, and he's on the same tires as Aiken is basically. He's on 3-lap newer tires than Aiken actually. And Henderson's on the freshest tires out of this bunch, and he's not able to get past Aiken.
Yeah, what makes it even worse is Aiken is just picking the lane almost perfectly to be parked right in front of Elliott, just dumping a ton of dirty air on his front end, making it really hard for him to turn. And whatever he does that, Heller just picks another lane to run, and he gains a bunch of time by doing that. But bad corner by Aiken, but Elliot's going to get loose and is not going to be able to capitalize.
And Nicholson's been catching up to these three pretty quick as well. And here comes Cottle as well in the 5th spot. We can have a great... Oh, and Henderson's up in the wall! Oh, man. Henderson gets into the wall, and Heller's going to be able to clear him going into 1, it looks like. Henderson's trying to stick at his corner panel, and he will. And this is great for Aiken. Aiken's going to gap these drivers a little bit.
Henderson should be able to hold him off around this outside. He's got the better lane and the better tires. He should be able to keep it, but Heller is just really strong. That gets really tight off the corner. Heller's going to be able to stay out of him, and now he's side by side with Nicholson. Nicholson having a great run late in this race.
And you have to keep in mind that... Oh, and there's almost contact between Heller and Nicholson. Here comes Cottle. It's going to be 3 wide for the 3rd spot. Josh Cottle's going to send it. He's going to clear Heller easily, and now he's going to try to get in front of Nicholson. Wow.
And a driver I wasn't even considering with Josh Cottle. He got into a massive wreck earlier when Matt Daniels spun around, but he is on tires similar to Henderson, so he has great pace.
Heller's in the wall.
Almost got in the wall. 3 wide. Going down into turn 3, Zach Rogers up the middle.
There's some great racing right now for the 4th spot. Cottle's all the way down low. Whoa, almost contact with Rogers. He's going to back off. And Keller's going to try to clear Rogers going into 1. And he's going to cut down right in front of him. That was close. Rogers had to back off.
Man, these guys are racing so hard, but they're doing such a good job to not hit each other. This is some fantastic racing here at Iowa.
While this is going on, Henderson has not let Aiken out of his sights. Last time by, he was around a 10th quicker than Ty Aiken. He's right there behind him. Last time by, he was once again around a 10th quicker. Elliot Henderson. These two are teammates, so you have to keep that in mind. And you have Nicholson closing in behind these drivers as well, and that would make it a 1-2-3 for split-second esports.
So every time Henderson gets close to Ty Aiken, he's just more and more dirty air gets dumped and his pace slows down. Aiken was a little bit faster that last lap. It's just Henderson just can't seem to get enough of a run when he gets closer to him.
And Aiken's been one of the fastest drivers all night, and Henderson's been running around 5th or 6th most of the night. So Henderson does not have quite as much speed at this racetrack as Aiken seems to. Aiken just really putting on a great show, and Nicholson right there behind them. And here you see Brandon White and Scott Stewart. They're battling it out right now.
Brandon White making up a lot of positions late in this race. He's pretty much been hanging around the back most of the time, but he's going forward now. Now is the time, and he's making moves.
Brandon White up to the 7th spot in the number 86 machine. And here you see the battle for the lead. Henderson is right there. That last time by, he was a little more than a 10th quicker than your race leader, Ty Aiken. A little over 10 laps to go, and we have 2 teammates possibly battling it out for the victory with a 3rd teammate right there in the shadows in Nathan Nicholson.
It's just some great stuff, Kyle. It's making me stressed out. These drivers are just so close to each other. Anything could happen at any moment. And who knows where it'll happen, because Zach Rogers is on top of Heller, and then Elliot's getting runs every now and then on Aiken. We've got 10 laps to go still. This is going to get crazy.
If I'm Henderson, I do what Heller was possibly doing earlier, and I look to that high side in 3 and 4. Aiken isn't running it. At this point in the run, Henderson's going to get a huge run off the corner in 3 and 4, and I think that's his best opportunity to maybe make a pass on Aiken is on that front stretch.
He just had a really good 1 and 2. The only problem is Aiken is now taking that line that you were talking about. So Henderson can't even use the line because he'll just be right behind him, but he still is getting great corners as he gets another run down the front straight on the bottom.
Henderson's running really well right now. He's all the way down there at the bottom. He's right there. He's a little quicker in 1 and 2. 3 and 4 is where it's a little bit iffy. Aikens just ran 3 and 4 so well, and he's running right there in the perfect lane, and Henderson's having to change up his lanes. And he had a great 3 and 4 that time, Elliot Henderson, but Aiken was able to get off the corner a lot better than he was because he was on the higher lane. And we have 8 laps to go, and Nicholson's closing in. Closed in a couple more hundredths that last time by.
I just don't think the pace difference is big enough that even if he gets to his inside, it's going to be so hard to try and pass him as he's going to be pinched really low. Oh, but Aiken gets really loose coming off. That's going to make him even closer into turn 1. Elliot's going to take a really wide entrance to the corner as Aiken runs the bottom to try and block him, but it doesn't matter. He's got to run. We'll see where he goes with it.
We've seen Ty Aiken pull some moves here today when he hasn't been able to get past the driver, just giving him a little bit of a nudge on the door. Could we possibly see that from Elliot Henderson against his teammate here? Just under 7 laps to go. Now it's 6 laps to go here at Iowa Speedway. And Elliot Henderson is trying to get to the race lead. Ty Aiken has dominated this last quarter of the race. He's looked so strong. And we thought when that last caution came out, he might have been done, but he had some cautions to maybe even out the tires. But yeah, now he has a good battle here with Henderson as Henderson gets the run off 3 and 4 to the inside. Can he clear him in 1 and 2? He's down low.
We know because these two are teammates, he's going to race him a lot cleaner than he would any other driver. So he's not going to push the issue into turn 1 as Aiken fights right back and clears him off turn 2. But he's just going to keep getting runs as it seems to be Aiken's tires are really falling off.
Yeah, Aiken's tires are going to fall off just a little bit quicker here at the end of this run than Henderson. So Henderson has to make a move. Nicholson's right there as well if these two get into it. If these two start to battle, Nicholson's going to be right on their heels, and Heller's not too far behind either. And this is probably the closest I've seen Elliot Henderson right now. He's going to have a great run off turns 3 and 4. Can he make the pass? Aiken gets loose off the corner. He's still trying to save it down the front stretch. Henderson's right there on his door, but he knows he's not going to complete the pass, so he's going to back off on entry. Oh, he's right there.
Really tight racing. Elliot took a really careful entry, but was still there, and Aiken almost cut across his nose and spun himself. We know because they're teammates. If they weren't, I think Henderson would have just stuck it in there anyways, but he backed out and kept it a little cleaner.
And we have
2 to go.
Sorry. You're good. So we have 2 laps to go here at Iowa Speedway. Do we make it back around to the white flag? Ty Aiken leads the field. Elliot Henderson right behind him. Can Henderson make a move? Henderson's looking high. This is what I said he needs to do. He needs to go to the high side in 3 and 4. That's his best opportunity right there. He gets a run off the corner. Can he make the move on Aiken going into turn 1? Does he move him? Last lap. Iowa Speedway for the Great Lakes Racing.com 200. Henderson jumps to the high side of Aiken. He's going to have the runoff. Can he get there? He's up high. This is his opportunity to make contact. Henderson's all the way up high. It's going to be a run down to the stripe. We might have a photo finish. Henderson comes off the corner. Aiken blocks him. What a block. Henderson's to the inside, and it's Aiken. It's Aiken. Ty Aiken wins the race. What a finish.
He turns him across the line.
Oh, man. AJ Allmendinger. Ty Aiken wins at Iowa Speedway.
Is that Terry Labonte? Oh, wait, no, this is Iowa. Oh, God.
Ty Aiken gets his first career Great Lakes Cup Series win and his 4th career win in Great Lakes competition. Great job from Ty Aiken. We've seen a lot of speed out of him last season and this season, and he's finally able to put it in victory lane, a well-deserved victory, and he's going to burn it down. His teammate Jacob Bransky right behind him. A lot of damage to his wheel and modified, looking like Ryan Preece right there, burning it down.
A 1-2-3 finish for Split Second Broadcasting. I'm sure, Split Second Esports. That old name. Oh, Lord. I'm going to get fired. But, man, top 3, 1-2-3 for Split Second Esports. They're going to be happy with that result, but even happier than that is going to be Ty Aiken winning the race. Just narrowly over Elliot Henderson across the line.
What a finish. We're going to take a look at that replay. What a finish. Henderson's best opportunity was up high, but Aiken shut the door off the corner and gave Henderson the door off the corner, and Henderson was not able to jump up high, so he had to jump down low, and it was a very close finish at the line. You're going to see it right here. You're going to see Henderson. He's all over Aiken. He's going to jump to the high side. He's going to have a run right here. Oh, my bad. This is actually coming to the white flag, so we're going to have one more lap to get back around. Alex, you want to take over this last lap?
Yeah, because when they went down into turn 1 and Taikin took the bottom lane, Elliot got to that outside. I was convinced it was over because I knew the outside lane is just so much better. He just narrowly gets to that quarter panel, and I think the contact into turn 3 must have helped Aiken as it messed up the entry for Elliot. That gets him a fantastic run on the bottom, almost hits the wall across the line, but he's gonna just narrowly make it as Elliot just couldn't get enough of a run, and Ty Aiken would win the race.
What a finish. Wow. Ty Aiken, a well-deserved victory, put on a great show and dominated the last quarter to a third of this race. A great performance from Ty Aiken, and great to see him finish one off like that, especially in victory lane. And I think we're going to try to get you some interviews from our top 4 tonight, actually, Alex.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to be doing some extras tonight because, of course, Christopher Heller, we can't forget about him. He wasn't in the battle right at the end of the race, but he was in it for most of the night. So we're going to drag him in first. We're going to start from the bottom. We're going to be talking to Christopher Heller, catching you off by surprise because you're coming in first, but finished in the 4th position, but looked like you could have won that race on that last green flag run until the caution came out and just wasn't able to have enough to beat those guys on the newer tires and Ty Aiken. So what do you think you could have done different tonight to get to that top 3 or win?
I probably should have just stayed out and ran that whole run out, but hindsight's whatever the term is, 20/20 or 50/50 or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to tell. But man, I don't know. I'm just disappointed. I was like inches away from passing Ty too when that yellow came out. And then, I mean, if I would have stayed out, I probably would have had the tires to win the race. But I don't know. It was just wasn't meant to be tonight.
Well, you can't say you were totally out of it at the end of the race. You only finished 8/10 off the lead at the end and had very good long run pace later in those runs, especially when you got out to the lead. You showed you pretty much had some of the best long run pace of the field, running the high side no less a lot of the time. So tell us how you were able to keep the tires under it, especially running that high lane.
Well, I was struggling on the bottom. That's why I was running the top. I don't know. I just found a line that worked, and it just worked out. I guess I don't know.
Well, drivers have their own driving style and find pace wherever they feel their car can do it. You had a great run tonight. It's a shame that caution came out to end it, and the restarts just didn't particularly work in your favor. That one of those later restarts, you ended up falling back into the clutches of 4th and 5th and were battling there. What was going through your mind as you're watching these guys pull away as you're battling 3 wide?
I knew that I needed to clear Elliot there, and I just was trying to avoid Elliot, and then I ended up just getting underneath him. But I don't know. I probably should have sent it in probably a little bit harder there, going into turn 1 to try to clear him. But I had already wrecked Bransky, so I didn't really want to wreck another car or another car tonight. So I was just trying to keep it clean the rest of the way through.
Yeah, especially feeling like you caused an incident definitely hurts the mental state a little bit, but it didn't affect you too badly. You still came away with a 4th place finish. So, do you have anybody to thank for that?
Yeah, I just want to thank the 2511 team with bringing on Jacob Manning. Hunter Madalinas was running with us tonight. He's not officially with the team, but he was running with us tonight. So, Brandon, Nick Martin, boys who didn't show up tonight, but don't know where they were, but they didn't say nothing to me. But got to shout those guys out too. You guys for the broadcast, and just everyone who showed up tonight to race.
Well, we appreciate you coming in, Christopher Heller. Congrats on the finish. You guys made it fun to watch tonight.
Yep, thank you.
All right, now we're moving on to our 3rd place driver. Driver that I'm surprised is in this position, especially after the incidents he got earlier in this race. We're going to be talking to Nathan Nicholson, 3rd place finisher, the furthest back of the split second esports guys, but was this close to getting the win. You were right in bird's eye view of that lead right at the end of the race with a damaged car, no less. So tell us, how'd you go from having what was pretty much a wrecked race car to battling in the top 3 for the win?
I just stayed in the race. I mean, when someone loses talent when you're 3 wide and sends you up the track, I said, "Well, my rear tires are killed," and came down pit and got tires. And I had a set left. Another caution came out, and Bransky and all them, they were on a whole different strategy trying to save a set, and I just had the same set on. I had 51 laps on them tires and somehow came out third.
Yeah, you were on the strategy of taking tires during the caution in the middle of the race around lap 90, I believe. So you only had one set of tires left for the end of this race. So how did you manage to preserve tires to be able to run with these leaders at the end?
I was just backing up the corner. If you notice how Matt Daniels was almost rear-ending me in every corner, I was backing it up, trying to save that right front, preserve it as long as I could.
Yeah, but you did a fantastic job tonight. I mean, you didn't even have a rear bumper on the car, and you came away with a third place finish. So do you have anybody to thank for that?
Yeah, all the guys at split second, Elliot especially. I mean, we had some wild team chatter with strategy calls and stuff. I got to thank Chris Heller for not destroying me because he slammed on his brakes on couple laps before the end. My old boss man. Thank you guys for the broadcast, and that's about it.
All right. Well, thank you for coming in, Nathan, and congratulations on the third.
Yes, sir.
Alrighty, let's get to the really crazy battle at the end of the race. We're going to be bringing in our second place finisher, so close to being first. We're talking to Elliot Henderson. You were this close to winning the race. You had the newer tires, but just wasn't able to get enough of a run and enough of a move done to get around Ty Aiken. Tell us about that final battle between you two.
I mean, it took me so long to set it up that I guess at the end of the day, at least we put on a show with it. But I really wish I did it 2 laps prior because I could have easily gotten around the outside. But it took me so many tries because Nicholson, like halfway through the run, started talking about how the inside was rolling pretty well because that's what I was doing, and he was just watching me do it. And Ty was just running the outside. And then as soon as Ty switched lanes, I was like, I mean, I felt like I had, when I had the better tires, I felt like I could just get the run off, and I just never actually got there. So I was trying to get the run off 2, get to his back end, and then just slide it into 3 as hard as possible. But what really I needed was to just get a really solid 3 and 4, follow him through there, and just slide it into 1 like I did on the last lap. So I just did the wrong thing for 5, 6 laps straight. But um, damn, I'm so proud of him, man. Like it takes me so much to not say a curse word right now because I'm so damn proud of him. Like between Atlanta earlier last season when him and Barkowski got together and he had that one all but one. It feels so good to see him get this one the way he did. Ironically, he's literally only won races where he beats me straight up. So I don't really know what I'm supposed to do with that, but he's gotten 2 on me now between Martinsville and here. So kudos to him. He's turning into a little bit of a short tracker, and we'll see how he pans out the rest of the season. I'm hoping he runs full time this season and next season, and he can contend for a championship or something moving forward because he's a talent.
Well, we know you're a big team guy, and Split Second Esports tonight have achieved a 1-2-3. And for one, how do you feel about that? And two, because it was your teammates around you, how are you racing them differently because of that?
There's it's it's kind of a hands-off priority at this point. Like we're not teammates when there's 5 laps to go. If the win is in front of you, like it's up to you how you want to race. I mean, he was pinching me to the outside wall, and that's how it is. You don't know exactly what you're going to get from any individual, especially a teammate, but it's up to him how he wants to race it. I'm going to be as aggressive as I can because I want the win, and he's going to be as aggressive as he can because he wants to win. But I'm not going to get mad over us finishing 1-2. I'll get mad if he'd have pinched me in the outside wall and we both ended up wrecked and finished outside the top 5 or whatever. But This scenario is completely fine with me. I mean, yeah, we were both aggressive, but a 1-2 is how it needs to be done. As long as we're not wrecked at the end of the race, I don't really care how aggressive you're going to be. You just need to make sure that you clean it up and finish it out.
All right. Well, you had a great run at the finish of the race. May not have been there in the earlier portion of the night, but were there at the finish and witnessed a lot of crashes and managed to narrowly make it through. So, was there anything different you were feeling being pretty much the only guy at the front of the field on new tires after all the crashes?
I just suck here, man. I mean, I don't know how he qualified second. And then I started the race in fourth gear like an idiot because I was sitting there trying to play with which gear would be better, and I just left it in fourth instead of staying in second through turn 3. And it all kind of went downhill from there. We shifted towards the back, ran about sixth or seventh, and I just never had the speed in the car. So I wanted to pull this strategy specifically because I knew that that would give me an extra set at the end and give me fresher tires. Of course, you can't assume that there's going to be yellows, but we caught a lucky break this time, and it really worked out. I really just feel bad for Bransky because him and I had the same strategy, and I feel like he probably honestly had the fastest car all day. I know Heller and Cottle and RJ were super fast, but Bransky had the long run pace. So if that went green all the way through, I feel like through pit stops, Bransky would have made a really big run at it. And unfortunately, his night came to an end when they made contact on that one restart. But I just want to go off sequence because I really felt like there might be a yellow, and that's my only chance personally. Because again, I don't know. I qualify well here, and then I just don't really race well, and it's so hard to pass. And as soon as you lose a few spots, it's hard to go back up. So, I mean, quick shout out to Hunter Madalinas, who was just racing me super nice. I mean, he kept letting me go every time we got around each other. But other than that, I mean, it's just so hard to pass. You can just run the outside and pinch someone down, and they'll never get around you.
Well, despite all the things you saw tonight and all the unfortunate events for all the other drivers, it worked out in your favor and you came away with a second position at the end of this race. So do you have anybody to thank for that?
Ty Aiken for not wrecking me on the final lap. Yeah, I'm gonna keep this one short. I mean, everyone knows who they are: Austin Moore, Jacob Bransky, Nathan Nicholson, Ty Aiken, who make this team go by on the Cup side every week. I love racing with those guys. We have so much fun in the in the chat and everything. So, but I really give Ty the shine here. Stop asking me questions and let him get his interviewing because man, I mean, it's been a good long time coming. He definitely had one or two wrapped up and lost them. So yeah, he's gotten a few taken away from him, and this time he got it done in some awesome fashion. So, quick thanks to you guys, admins, everybody. I know this is gonna be fun to go back and watch because man, those last 5-10 laps, I'm sure everybody was kind of glued to what was happening. But yeah, just huge congrats to Ty on tonight. Like that's an understatement of how well he did. I mean, that was phenomenal. I didn't expect him to hold me off. I drove right around Heller, and Ty just straight up he worked for it and he did not let it go. So kudos to him. Congrats on the win. And we'll go on to Vegas and keep this championship rolling. I think we're still P1 in the points, so we'll keep this going and just keep people behind us if we can.
All right. Well, thank you, Elliot Henderson, for coming in. We always love talking to you. You always have some great things to tell us. So congratulations on the second place finish, and thank you for coming in.
Thank you guys. Have a good night.
Alrighty, and he's been waiting for a while, but I'm sure he's ready to talk. We're going to be bringing in our winner for tonight, Ty Aiken. Phenomenal performance at the finish of that race. Frankly, I was convinced you couldn't do it and hold off those newer tires from Elliott, but you managed to do it and just narrowly beat him by 600ths over the line. What are you feeling?
I was like that last caution or the one before that on lap 170 or somewhere around there. I thought they were definitely going to get around me, and same with like that Bransky. I thought when he got between me and Heller, he was going to be gone. But I mean, I just after racing near the back and coming through the field, I figured it out that if you're on the top, nobody can really pass you, even if the tires are. I don't know how much of a difference we had, but it was definitely a good amount.
Well, you mentioned the top. I mean, we're looking at the replay live here. You gave Elliott the high side on the last lap, but just narrowly managed to pull out ahead of him coming off turn 4. What was the difference that time that you chose to run the bottom and give him that high side?
I honestly thought he was gonna go on the bottom again because he was watching me run the top every lap. So I was like, he's gonna go to the bottom. So I can just go down there and just block him and just easily stay in front of him. And he didn't, and he got his nose in front of me, and then it was kind of like, oh, he's up there. And we made some contact going into 3, and then I sent it into 3 and 4, and it worked out, I guess.
Well, definitely worked out because you're currently the one sitting here as the winner of the Great Lakes Cup Series race at Iowa. But let's back it up a little bit because for the early portion of this race, you really weren't in the battle for the win. And frankly, we weren't talking about you a lot as having great pace, but suddenly at that lap 90 caution when you guys took tires, that last run, you drove your way up to the second position behind Christopher Heller and found a lot of pace. What was the difference in your driving that you made to find all that pace?
It was just running laps around the track, seeing what everybody's doing, trying different strategies. You know, me and Elliot weren't on the same strategy. If it would have, that was crazy. I don't even know. That was fun.
Yeah, you had a fantastically fun race, and one of the big calls of the night that gave you the lead in the first place before that final caution was you decided to pit a few laps before Heller and managed to pull out in front of him for the lead, but right before the caution came out, he was about to pass you. So what were you thinking right as that caution came out? What was going through your mind?
Thank God. Because, yeah, if he would have gotten around me, I don't think I would have had much for him. He would have been probably pulling away from me pretty quick.
Very simple things. I mean, sometimes you recognize when you were at the disadvantage, but you got a little bit lucky and you found yourself in the lead. You found yourself holding off these other drivers, contesting from 3 or 4 different drivers tonight for that lead position, but you held them all off and you won the race. So congratulations. But first, you got to thank some people. So who are they?
Elliot Henderson, I mean, he's helped me a lot. And I know we said we were going to practice this week, and then we kind of didn't get time because was having some issues with the iRacing update, and then I just jumped in the race today, and I was kind of like, oh, I don't know. This is just going to be something I'm trying to get points for again, because last year I didn't really race that much in this and wasn't really too worried about the points. So this year I'm trying to go for it. So yeah, I got to thank Elliot, and then that great racing from the end with him too. I mean, that was just fun.
Well, we hope you have a great year this year, Ty. You're doing well. You got to win another win tonight. So congratulations and thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, those are our interviews for tonight. You got to talk to a bunch of drivers, got to hear some interesting words. So Kyle, I think it's about time that we close out this broadcast.
Yeah, it's getting around that time. I'm going to talk a little bit about points because we haven't really talked about points since the season started. I'm just looking at the points right now. Leaving tonight, Elliot Henderson's going to have around a 2-point advantage over Nathan Nicholson leaving tonight. So that's very close for the points lead, and they're around a little over 10 points in front of Christopher Heller. And Aiken was able to make up some points tonight. He's going to probably move up to the 8th spot in points, a little over 50 points back of his teammate Elliot Henderson, and that puts 4 split-second esport guys in the top 8 spots. They own 50% of the top 8 in point standing, so it's really good for them. Next week we'll be heading to Las Vegas in the Great Lakes Cup Series as we're approaching the halfway point. It'll be race number 5 of the 12-race season here for season number 3 of the Great Lakes Cup Series, and then on Tuesday we start up the playoffs for the Great Lakes Trucks. The Great Lakes Trucks start their playoff campaign at Michigan next Tuesday for the round of 12. So that will be a lot of fun. But I would like to thank y'all for tuning in. And once again, congratulations to Ty Aiken on his first career Cup Series victory tonight. A great performance here at Iowa, a great win. And once again, thanks to y'all for tuning in, and we will see you either on Tuesday or Thursday for Great Lakes action here on the Flatout Racing Network. Good night.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.